The rain falls softly across Amsterdam tonight. It touches the canals, the narrow streets, the old brick walls that line the water. You're walking now, moving slowly through the quiet. The cobblestones are wet beneath your feet. Each step makes a soft sound against the stone. The canal stretches ahead, calm and still. Streetlights reflect across the water in long, unbroken lines. The light wavers slightly when a drop of rain disturbs the surface. Buildings rise on both sides, tall and narrow, their windows glowing faintly. The rain continues, steady and light, softening every sound. You move forward at an easy pace. There's no need to hurry. The air is cool but not cold. Your footsteps create a gentle rhythm on the wet stone. The canal runs parallel to your path, its surface dark and smooth. A bridge appears ahead, a small arch structure spanning the water. You step onto it, feeling the slight rise beneath your feet. The sound of your steps changes subtly on the brick surface. Water drips from the iron railings. You pause for a moment, looking down at the canal below. The reflection of a streetlight stretches across the water. It breaks into soft fragments where raindrops land. The buildings on the opposite side mirror themselves in the canal, their edges blurred by the rain. You continue across the bridge, descending on the other side. The street narrows here. Buildings press closer together, their facades nearly touching overhead. Windows glow with warm light, but the curtains are drawn. The rain patters against the brickwork. You walk beneath an overhang briefly, the sound of rain changing above you. The cobblestones are uneven in places. Your steps adjust naturally to the texture underfoot. Water has gathered in shallow pools along the edges of the street. Each pool reflects the nearest light source, creating small patches of brightness. You turn gently, following the curve of the street. Another canal comes into view. This one is wider, with more space between the buildings. A bicycle leans against a railing, rainwater dripping from its handlebars. The canal reflects the sky, which is low and overcast. Your pace remains steady. The rain falls without change, neither heavier nor lighter. It creates a soft background texture to everything. The sound of your footsteps mixes with the rain, forming a quiet pattern. A tram track runs through the street ahead. The metal rails glisten under the streetlights. You cross carefully, stepping over the tracks. The stone on the other side is slightly smoother. Your footsteps sound different here, less textured. The canal continues beside you. Its water moves only slightly, disturbed by the rain. Small ripples spread outward from each droplet. The surface never becomes still enough to create a perfect reflection. Instead, everything appears softened, like an image seen through misted glass. You pass beneath a tree, its branches reaching over the canal. Raindrops collect on the leaves and fall in larger drops. They hit the water with audible plops. The tree's trunk is dark with moisture. You move beyond it, returning to the open path. Another bridge rises ahead. This one is slightly steeper than the last. You climb slowly, feeling the incline. At the top, you pause again. The canal stretches in both directions, lined with buildings that seem to lean slightly toward the water. The rain continues its gentle fall. It touches your shoulders, your hands. The sensation is light, barely noticeable. You descend the bridge on the opposite side, your steps careful on the wet brick. The street here is residential. Bicycles are parked in neat rows against the building facades. Their metal frames shine with water. A few have baskets on the front, dark and empty. You walk past them slowly. The canal reflects less light here. The street lamps are spaced farther apart. The water looks darker, almost black in places, but the rain still catches the light as it falls, creating brief sparks of visibility before disappearing into the surface. You turn into a narrower street. The buildings are so close that you could touch both sides if you extended your arms. The cobblestones are smaller here, creating a finer texture underfoot. Water runs in thin streams along the edges, following the slight slope of the street. A window above shows movement inside, a shadow passing across the light. Then it's still again. The curtain remains drawn. You continue forward, your footsteps echoing faintly between the walls. The street opens into a small square. The space feels wider after the narrow passage. A canal curves around one side of the square. The water here is more sheltered, its surface calmer. Reflections are clearer, though still disrupted by the rain. You walk along the edge of the square. The cobblestones are larger here, irregular in shape. Each one is slightly different in size and placement. Water gathers in the spaces between them. A bicycle passes in the distance, its tires making a soft hissing sound on the wet pavement. The sound fades quickly. You're alone again. The rain continues, unchanging. You cross another bridge. This one is wider, with room for several people to pass side by side. The railing is made of dark iron, cold and slick under your hand if you were to touch it. You don't. You simply walk, maintaining your steady pace. The canal below is perfectly still, except for the rain. Each drop creates a small circle on the surface. These circles expand and overlap, creating patterns that disappear as quickly as they form. You watch for a moment, then continue. The path ahead follows the canal closely. There's barely any space between the water and the walkway. Buildings rise directly from the canal's edge, their foundations disappearing into the dark water. Windows are positioned high above the waterline, glowing softly. Your footsteps continue their rhythm. Left, right, left, right. The sound is consistent, comforting in its repetition. The rain adds its own rhythm, less regular but equally persistent. You pass beneath another overhang. The rain sound changes above you, hitting metal or tile instead of open air. Then you're back in the open, and the sound returns to normal. A narrow alley branches off to your right. You can see down its length to another street beyond. The alley is dark, lit only by the ambient glow from distant streetlights. You continue straight, following the canal. The water reflects a row of windows from the opposite side. Each window is a rectangle of warm light on the canal's surface. The reflections stretch and compress as small movements disturb the water. The rain keeps everything in motion, never allowing the image to settle. You notice the way the rain sounds different, depending on what it hits. On the water, it's soft, almost silent. On the cobblestones, it's slightly sharper. On the metal railings, it creates tiny metallic notes. On the brick walls, it's absorbed, muffled. Another bridge appears. You climb it slowly. At the top, you can see further along the canal. More bridges in the distance, more buildings, more reflections. The scene repeats itself in a way that feels natural, expected. You descend the other side. The street curves gently to the left. You follow it, trusting the path. The canal remains beside you, a constant presence. A tram passes somewhere in the distance. You hear the faint hum of its electric motor the soft clatter of its wheels on the tracks. The sound fades quickly, absorbed by the rain and the buildings. You continue walking. The rhythm of your steps hasn't changed. The rain hasn't changed. The night remains quiet and still. The buildings here are slightly shorter. Their roof lines are lower, more varied. Some have stepped gables, others are flat. The architectural variety creates an uneven skyline against the overcast sky. Water drips from a downspout, splashing onto the pavement beside you. The sound is regular, like a slow pulse. You pass it, and the sound fades behind you. The canal widens ahead. The space between the buildings increases. There's more open water, more reflection. The rain's impact on the surface is more visible here, creating a constant shimmer across the entire width. You walk along the edge. The path is slightly elevated above the water level. A low barrier runs along the side, preventing anyone from getting too close to the edge. The barrier is wet, its surface gleaming. Your pace remains unchanged. There's no destination, no endpoint, just the movement, the rain, the canal, the quiet streets. A bicycle leans against a tree. Its front wheel is turned to the side. Rain collects on the seat, forming a small pool. You pass it without stopping. The street ahead narrows again. You enter the confined space between buildings. The sound changes subtly, becoming slightly more enclosed. Your footsteps echo faintly off the walls. A door appears on your left, recessed slightly into the building. The doorstep is worn smooth from years of use. A small light glows above the door, casting a weak circle of illumination. You pass by. The canal curves gently. You follow its curve, staying on the path beside the water. The reflections shift as the angle changes. New windows come into view, their light replacing the ones that disappear behind you. Another bridge rises ahead. You've crossed many now. Each one is slightly different, but the experience is similar. The slight climb, the change in surface, the view from the top, the descent on the other side. You climb this bridge slowly. The brick is particularly slick with rain. Your steps are careful, deliberate. At the top, you pause. The canal stretches in both directions, endless in the darkness. The rain continues. It hasn't stopped. It won't stop. It's a constant companion, softening everything, making the night feel enclosed and intimate. You descend the bridge. The street on this side is wider. There's more space between the buildings. The canal moves away slightly, creating a broader walkway. Your footsteps sound different on this surface. The cobblestones are more uniform, creating a smoother texture. The rhythm of your steps remains the same, but the quality of the sound shifts. A window reflects the street light more brightly than others. Perhaps the glass is cleaner, or the angle is more direct. The reflection creates a bright spot on the canal's surface, wavering with the rain. You continue forward. The path is straight here, running parallel to the canal for a long stretch. Buildings line both sides. Their facades are simple, unadorned. The rain drips from their eaves in thin streams. The sound of water is everywhere. Not just the rain falling, but water dripping, pooling, flowing in small streams along the gutters. It creates a layered sound, each element distinct, but blending into a whole. You pass another bicycle. This one has a basket filled with rainwater. The water is dark, reflecting nothing. You walk on. The canal beside you is particularly still in this section. The buildings shelter it from any breeze. The rain is the only thing disturbing the surface. Each drop creates its pattern, independent but overlapping with countless others. Your pace hasn't changed. Your breathing is steady. The cool air fills your lungs. The rain touches your face lightly, barely noticeable. The street curves again, following the canal's natural path. You turn with it, your steps adjusting automatically. The canal remains beside you, a dark presence reflecting fragments of light. Another bridge appears ahead. Beyond it, the street continues. More canals, more buildings, more reflections in the rain. You approach the bridge, ready to climb once more. You step onto the bridge. The bricks beneath your feet are slick with rain. Your weight shifts slightly as you begin the gentle climb. The surface is uneven but familiar. Your steps remain steady. From the top, you pause. The canal stretches in both directions, disappearing into darkness. Streetlights mark its path with small points of warmth. Their reflections waver on the water below. The rain continues its soft rhythm. You descend the other side. The sound of your footsteps changes as you reach the street. The cobblestones here are smaller, more tightly fitted. Water has gathered in the slight depressions between them. Each step creates a faint splash. The buildings on this side are narrower. They press close to the canal edge. Their facades are simple, with tall windows that rise vertically. A few windows glow softly from within. The light spills onto the wet street, creating pools of warmth. You move forward along the canal path. The water beside you is particularly still here. The buildings shelter it from any movement in the air. Only the rain disturbs the surface, each drop creating its own small circle that expands and fades. A bicycle leans against a railing ahead. Its frame is dark with moisture. The seat holds a small pool of collected rainwater. You pass it without stopping. The railing continues along the canal edge, marking the boundary between path and water. The street curves gently. You follow the curve, your body adjusting naturally to the change in direction. The canal curves with you, maintaining its position at your side. The reflections shift as the angle changes, showing different windows and lights. Another bridge rises ahead. You can see its arch from here, darker against the night sky. The rain falls through the space beneath it, visible in the glow of a distant streetlight. You approach slowly, your pace unchanged. The climb begins. Your feet find purchase on the wet brick. The angle is gradual but noticeable. Your breathing remains even. The sound of the canal grows slightly louder as you rise above street level, the rain hitting the water more audible from this height. At the top, you pause again. The view is similar to before, but from a different position. The canal continues in both directions. Buildings line both sides. Their windows are reflecting light in varying intensities. The rain falls steadily, unchanging. You descend. The path on this side is narrower. The buildings are closer together, leaving less space for the walkway. Your shoulder is near the wall of one building as you move forward. The canal is an arm's length away on your other side. A doorway appears in the building beside you. It's recessed slightly, creating a small sheltered space. The step is worn smooth from years of use. A light glows above the door, but it's dim, casting only a weak circle of illumination. You pass by. The street straightens. You follow it forward, parallel to the canal. The rhythm of your steps is constant now, a steady pattern that matches the falling rain. Your feet know the texture of these cobblestones, adjusting automatically to their uneven surface. A window reflects more brightly than the others. Perhaps the curtain is pulled back further, or the lamp inside is positioned closer to the glass. The reflection on the canal surface is clearer, showing the window's shape and the warm light within. The rain blurs it slightly, but doesn't erase it. You continue walking. The buildings here are taller, rising several stories above you. Their upper windows are dark. Only the lower floors show signs of life. Light escapes from behind curtains, soft and indirect. Another bicycle appears, this one upright on its stand. The handlebars hold a small basket. Rainwater has collected inside, dark and still. The bicycle's frame is painted a deep color that's hard to discern in the dim light. You move past it. The canal beside you widens slightly. The far bank seems more distant now. The water's surface is broader, catching more reflections. A street light on the opposite side creates a long streak of light across the water, broken by the rain into smaller fragments. The path beneath your feet changes texture. The cobblestones give way to smooth brick, laid in a herringbone pattern. Your steps sound different here, slightly softer. The water that's gathered on this surface forms a thin, even layer rather than pooling in gaps. A small bridge appears ahead, lower and flatter than the ones before. Its arch is subtle, barely noticeable. You step onto it without adjusting your pace. The slight elevation change registers in your legs, but doesn't interrupt your rhythm. From this bridge, you can see another bridge beyond, and another beyond that. The canal continues its path through the city, marked by these regular intervals of crossing points. Each one is similar but distinct, with variations in height and width and the texture of their brick surfaces. You step down from the bridge. The street here opens up slightly. There's more space between the canal and the buildings on your right. A wider walkway allows for more distance. You move toward the middle of this path, no longer close to either wall or water. The sound of the rain is clearer in this open space. It falls on the street, on the canal, on the building facades. Each surface creates its own variation of the sound. The water, the stone, the brick, all respond differently to the rain's touch. A tram track runs through the street ahead, crossing your path at an angle. The metal rails are wet and reflective. They catch the streetlight and hold it, creating two parallel lines of brightness. You cross over them carefully, your footsteps brief on the metal before returning to stone. The buildings on your right grow taller. Their windows are more uniform, arranged in neat rows that climb toward the roof line. Most are dark now. Only a few show light. The rain runs down their glass surfaces in thin streams, following the same paths it has followed countless times before. You pass a doorway with a small awning. The fabric is dark with moisture, but provides a slight shelter. Water drips from its edge in a steady stream, hitting the step below with a soft patter. You continue forward, staying in the rain. The canal curves again. This curve is more pronounced, bending the path around to follow a different direction. You turn with it, your body leaning slightly into the curve. The reflections in the water shift dramatically as the angle changes, showing different buildings and lights. A bench sits along the canal edge. Its wooden slats are dark with rain. Water has pooled in the slight depression of the seat. The backrest is wet, glistening faintly in the street light. You walk past without pausing. The street narrows once more. The buildings press close on both sides now, creating a corridor between them. The canal is on your left, the building facades on your right. The space between them is just wide enough for your path and nothing more. Your footsteps echo very faintly here. The sound bounces off the close walls but is softened by the rain. It's a subtle effect, barely noticeable. The rhythm of your steps continues unchanged. A light appears ahead, brighter than the others. It's positioned lower, perhaps a lamp beside a doorway or a window on the ground floor. As you approach, you see it's a shop window, still lit despite the late hour. The light illuminates the street in front of it, creating a bright patch on the wet cobblestones. You pass through this pool of light. For a moment, the details around you are clearer. The texture of the building facades, the individual cobblestones, the rain falling in visible streaks. Then you move beyond it, and the darkness returns, softened by the distant streetlights. Another bridge rises ahead. You've lost count of how many you've crossed. Each one is a small transition, a brief change in elevation and surface. This one is similar to the others, its brick arch rising gently from the street level. You climb. The wet brick is familiar now. Your feet know how to find purchase on the slick surface. At the top, you pause. The canal stretches away in both directions. The rain continues falling, hitting the water with countless small impacts. You descend. The path continues on the other side, following the canal's edge. The buildings here are older, their facades showing more variation in texture. Some brick, some stone, some painted surfaces that have weathered over time. A cat moves in the shadows ahead. You catch a glimpse of its form as it crosses from one building to another, disappearing into a narrow gap between structures. The movement is quick and silent. Then it's gone, and the street is still again, except for the rain. The canal widens further. The far bank is now quite distant. The water's surface is broader, catching more reflections from both sides. The lights create a pattern across the dark water, interrupted by the rain's constant disturbance. You pass a section where the building wall is set back from the canal edge. A small space opens up, perhaps once a loading area for boats. The ground here is flat stone, smooth and wet. Your footsteps sound different on this surface, more resonant. The path returns to its narrow corridor. Buildings close in again on your right. The canal remains on your left, constant. The reflections continue their wavering dance on the water's surface, shifting with every raindrop. A window opens slightly ahead and above. You hear the faint sound of it moving, then see a hand reaching out briefly before withdrawing. The window closes again. The building returns to stillness. You continue walking. The street curves left, following the canal's natural bend. You turn with it, maintaining your steady pace. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn smooth in the center of the path, where countless others have walked before you. Another bicycle leans against a railing. This one has a chain wrapped around its frame and the railing securing it in place. The chain is wet, its metal links dark with moisture. You pass by, your steps unchanging. The buildings here show more variation in height. Some rise 3 stories, others 4 or 5. Their roof lines create an irregular pattern against the night sky. The rain falls past them, visible in the spaces between buildings where distant lights provide background illumination. The small boat is moored at the canal edge ahead. It bobs very gently in the water, responding to some subtle current or the rain's impact. Its deck is wet, reflecting the nearby streetlight. A rope secures it to a metal ring set into the stone edge of the canal. You walk past the boat. The canal continues beyond it, stretching into the darkness. The path follows alongside, maintaining its position between water and buildings. Your footsteps continue their steady rhythm, unchanged by what you pass. The street widens gradually. The buildings on your right move back slightly, creating more space. The walkway broadens, allowing for a more open feeling. The canal remains at the same distance, but the overall space feels less confined. A streetlight ahead is brighter than the others. It illuminates a larger area, showing more detail of the surroundings. You can see the texture of the building facades more clearly as you approach, the individual bricks and the mortar between them. You pass through this brighter area. The light creates sharper reflections on the wet street, showing the pattern of the cobblestones more distinctly. Then you move beyond it, and the familiar dimness returns. Another bridge appears. You approach it slowly, your pace unchanged. The climb begins. The brick is wet, as always. Your feet find their places on the surface. The ascent is gradual and familiar. At the top, you pause. The canal stretches away in both directions. The rain continues. The reflections waver on the water. The night remains quiet, except for the soft sound of falling rain. You descend the other side. The path continues forward. The buildings line both sides of the street. The canal flows beside you, dark and constant. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm. The rain falls steadily, touching everything with its soft, persistent presence. The street continues ahead. The canal flows beside you. The buildings rise on your right, their facades dark except for occasional lit windows. The rain falls steadily, touching every surface with quiet persistence. You keep walking. The path narrows slightly. The buildings draw closer on your right. Their brick faces show age in the uneven texture, visible where light reaches them. The canal remains at your left, its surface reflecting scattered points of light from windows and street lamps. The reflections stretch and compress with the water's subtle movement. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm. The wet cobblestones respond with soft sounds that fade quickly into the rain's constant presence. A bicycle passes on your right, its tires making a soft hissing sound on the wet street. The rider moves past without slowing. The sound fades ahead of you. The street curves gently right. You follow its path, moving away from the canal temporarily. The buildings on both sides create a corridor. Their windows are mostly dark now. One shows a warm interior light, curtains partially drawn. You pass beneath it. The light doesn't quite reach the street level. The rain continues without change. It falls straight down in the still air. Each drop creates a small ripple where it meets standing water in the uneven cobblestones. The pattern repeats endlessly across the street surface. You walk through it, your pace unchanged. A tram crosses an intersection ahead. You hear it first, the low hum of its electric motor and the metal sound of wheels on rails. Then you see it passing from left to right, windows lit from within. It moves steadily across your path and disappears behind buildings. The sound fades gradually. You reach the intersection. The tram tracks run across the cobblestones, their metal rails wet and reflecting the streetlight above. You step over them. Your feet find the cobblestones again on the other side. The street continues forward. Buildings line both sides here. They're taller, rising 5 or 6 stories. Their facades are more uniform, built from similar brick in similar patterns. The windows are arranged in vertical columns. Most are dark. A few show dim light from deep within rooms. The path begins to slope downward gradually. The change is subtle but present in your steps. The canal must be near again. You can sense the openness to your left before you can see the water. The buildings on that side end. The space opens. The canal appears. Its surface is darker here, reflecting less light. The buildings across the water are set back farther, their lights more distant. The rain creates countless small disturbances on the water's surface. Each one catches a fragment of light before disappearing. A boat is moored along the canal edge. It's larger than others you've passed, perhaps 8 meters long. Its deck is covered with a dark tarp that sags slightly where water has collected. Rope secures it at both ends to metal rings. The boat moves very slightly, responding to some gentle current beneath the surface. You continue past the boat. The walkway beside the canal is wider here. There's space between you and the water's edge. A low barrier of metal posts connected by chains runs along the canal side. The posts are dark with age and moisture. The rain sounds different over the water, softer, more dispersed. Each drop that hits the surface creates a tiny sound that blends with thousands of others. The overall effect is a gentle static, constant and unchanging. It fills the space above the canal. Your footsteps continue. The path is level now, running parallel to the water. The buildings on your right are residential. Their ground floors show dark windows, shops or businesses closed for the night. The upper floors have occasional lights. Lives continuing behind curtains and walls. A narrow alley opens between buildings on your right. You glance down it as you pass. It extends back into darkness, barely wide enough for a single person. Water runs down its center in a thin stream, following the slope toward the street. The buildings on either side rise straight up, their walls almost touching overhead. You pass the alley. The street continues its straight path beside the canal. Another street light ahead casts its circle of illumination. You approach it steadily. The light reveals more detail in the rain, individual drops becoming briefly visible as they fall through the lit area. Under the light, you can see the texture of the wet cobblestones more clearly. Each stone is slightly different in color and shape. The spaces between them hold small pools of water. Your footsteps disturb these pools briefly. Then they settle again. Beyond the light, the familiar dimness returns. Your eyes adjust again to the reduced visibility. The canal continues on your left. The buildings continue on your right. The rain continues falling. Everything maintains its steady state. A bridge appears in the distance. You can see its arch rising above the canal's surface. As you approach, its shape becomes clearer. The brick construction is similar to others you've crossed, worn smooth by weather and use. The rise begins gradually. You start climbing. Your feet find purchase on the wet brick. The angle increases slightly with each step. The bridge's peak approaches. You maintain your steady pace, letting your legs adjust to the incline without hurrying. At the top, you pause briefly. The canal extends in both directions from this higher vantage point. The water reflects lights from both banks, creating parallel lines of illumination that follow the canal's path. The rain falls into the water throughout the visible length, creating a texture across the entire surface. The descent begins. Your weight shifts slightly forward. The The wet brick requires the same care as the ascent. You take each step deliberately, maintaining control. The path levels out at the bottom. You continue forward onto the street beyond. This street is quieter. Fewer lights line the buildings. The facades are simpler, less ornate. The windows are smaller, set deeper into the walls. Most are completely dark. The street feels more residential, more private. The canal runs along your left side again. The water here is slightly narrower, the banks closer together. The buildings on the far side are near enough that you can see details of their construction. The brick patterns, the window frames, the occasional balcony. Your footsteps are the primary sound now. The rain continues its soft presence, but in this quieter space, the sound of your movement becomes more noticeable. Each step creates a brief contact with the wet surface, then releases. The rhythm is steady and unchanging. A cat appears on a windowsill to your right. It sits behind glass, watching the rain. Its eyes reflect a small point of light from somewhere within the room. The cat doesn't move as you pass. It simply observes, still and patient. The path continues straight. The buildings maintain their uniform height and spacing. The canal flows beside you at a constant distance. The rain falls with the same steady persistence it has shown since the beginning. Another bridge approaches. This one is smaller, spanning a narrower section where the canal bends. The brick surface is the same. The climb is gentler, the peak lower. You cross without pausing at the top. The descent brings you back to street level quickly. The buildings change slightly here. They're older, their facades showing more variation in the brickwork. Some sections have been repaired or replaced over time, creating patches of slightly different color. The windows are less uniform in size and placement. A door stands open on your right. Light spills from within, illuminating a narrow entrance hallway. You can see tile flooring inside, dark and white in a checkerboard pattern. A bicycle leans against the inner wall. No one is visible. The door remains open to the night and rain. You pass the doorway. The light fades behind you. The street returns to its dim state. The canal continues on your left. The water moves slowly, following its ancient path through the city. The rain intensifies slightly, not dramatically, but noticeably. The sound increases in volume. The drops hit surfaces with slightly more force. The reflections on the water become more agitated, breaking and reforming more quickly. The change persists for several minutes. Then it eases again. The rain returns to its previous steadiness. The sound softens. The water's surface calms. The temporary variation passes, and the constant state returns. You continue walking through it. A streetlight ahead has failed. The area beneath it is darker than the surrounding street. As you approach, the darkness deepens. You pass through this section, your eyes adjusting to the reduced light. Details become less distinct. The buildings are shapes more than structures. Beyond the dark section, another light provides illumination. The transition is gradual. Visibility increases with each step. The world gains detail again. The buildings become facades with windows and doors. The canal shows its surface and reflections. The cobblestones reveal their individual shapes. The path widens. The canal bends away to your left, creating more distance between water and buildings. The space between feels more open. The rain falls through this openness, visible in larger volumes as it passes through lit areas. A bench sits along the canal edge. Its metal frame is wet, water beading on the dark surface. The wooden slats are darkened by moisture. No one sits here now. The bench simply exists in the rain, patient and still. You pass the bench. Your footsteps continue their rhythm. The path begins to narrow again as the canal curves back closer. The buildings on your right draw nearer. The familiar corridor feeling returns. Another bicycle leans against a building wall. This one is older, showing rust on its frame and spokes. The seat is cracked, its surface weathered. A basket attached to the handlebars holds nothing. Water collects in its woven bottom. The street continues forward. The buildings rise on both sides now. The canal temporarily hidden behind structures on your left. The space becomes more enclosed. The rain sound changes slightly, echoing between the closed walls. An intersection opens ahead. You can see across to another street running perpendicular to your path. Tram tracks cross through the intersection, their rails catching light. The space is empty of movement. You approach and cross through it without stopping. On the far side, the canal reappears. It runs parallel to your path again, separated by a narrow walkway. The water is still, almost motionless. The reflections on its surface are clear and stable, showing the buildings across the canal with unusual clarity. A window opens above and ahead. You hear the sound first, then see the window swinging outward. A hand reaches out, feeling the rain briefly. Then the hand withdraws. The window closes. The building returns to stillness. Your pace remains unchanged. Each step follows the previous one in steady succession. The wet cobblestones respond with their familiar soft sounds. The rain continues falling. The night maintains its quiet presence. The path curves left, following the canal's natural bend. You turn with it. The buildings on your right curve as well, maintaining their position relative to the street. The canal curves on your left. Everything moves together in gentle arc. A small boat sits low in the water ahead. It's simpler than others you've passed, just a flat-bottomed vessel with no cabin or covering. Rain collects in its bottom. The water inside reflects the sky's darkness. A single rope secures it to the canal edge. You walk past the boat. The canal continues beyond it. The path follows alongside. The buildings rise on your right. The rain falls steadily. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm, unchanged by what you pass or what remains ahead. A bridge appears ahead. Its stone arch rises gently over the canal. The wet surface catches light from a street lamp positioned at its center. You approach the base of the bridge. The incline begins. Your footsteps change slightly as the path rises. The cobblestones here are larger, more weathered. Water has pooled in the small gaps between them. Each step finds slightly higher ground. The bridge lifts you above the canal surface. At the bridge's peak, you pause. The canal extends in both directions from this central point. To your left, it stretches toward darker areas where fewer lights reach the water. To your right, it continues past buildings whose windows glow with warm interior light. The water below reflects both directions differently. The rain falls onto the canal surface. Each drop creates a small disturbance that spreads outward in tiny rings. Thousands of these rings overlap, creating a constantly shifting texture across the water. The pattern never repeats exactly. It simply continues, changing with each moment. You begin the descent. The far side of the bridge slopes downward at the same gentle angle as the approach. Your footsteps find the wet stone. The sound remains consistent with the climb. Water runs in thin streams along the bridge's edges, following the slope down to street level. The path levels again. You've crossed to the opposite side of the canal. The buildings here mirror those you left behind in their general form. Narrow facades, tall windows, brick walls darkened by moisture. But each structure holds its own specific details. A bicycle leans against a black iron railing ahead. Its frame is dark blue, almost invisible in the low light. Only the metal reflectors catch enough illumination to be clearly visible. The seat is covered with a plastic bag tied loosely to keep off the rain. Water beads on the plastic surface. You pass the bicycle. The railing it leans against follows the canal's edge for several meters before ending at a building's corner. Beyond that corner, the canal continues, but your path turns right, leading away from the water temporarily. The street narrows. Buildings press closer on both sides. The space between them creates a corridor perhaps 3 meters wide. The rain falls into this narrow channel, and the sound of it hitting cobblestones becomes slightly more concentrated. The echo is subtle, but present. A door sits recessed into the wall on your left. Its wood is painted dark green, the paint aged and cracked in places. A brass number is mounted at eye level. The metal has oxidized to a muted brown-green. No light shows from behind the door. The building appears quiet. The street continues straight. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm on the wet stones. The buildings on either side rise 4 or 5 stories. Most windows are dark. A few on upper floors show light, but curtains or shades block direct view inside. The light simply escapes around edges, creating rectangular glows against the building facades. An intersection opens ahead. The narrow street you're following meets a slightly wider one, running perpendicular. Tram tracks cross through this intersection, their metal rails embedded in the cobblestones. The rails catch rainwater in their grooves, creating thin lines of reflected light. You reach the intersection and turn left. The wider street allows more open space above. The rain is more visible here, falling through the gap between buildings. Individual drops can be tracked for brief moments as they pass through lit areas. The canal reappears on your right. It runs parallel to this street, separated by a narrow walkway, perhaps 2 meters wide. A low stone wall, only knee-high, marks the boundary between walkway and water. The wall's top surface is wet, darkened by rain. A bench sits against the canal wall. Its back faces the water. The seat faces the street and buildings beyond. The bench is empty. Its wooden slats are dark with moisture. Metal armrests on either end show spots of rust where paint has worn away. Rain continues to fall onto it steadily. You walk past the bench. The canal continues alongside your path. The water's surface is almost perfectly still here. The reflections it holds are remarkably clear. Building facades across the canal appear in the water with unusual definition. Windows reflect as rectangular patches of light. The images waver only slightly when raindrops disturb the surface. A boat sits low in the water ahead. It's a houseboat, permanently moored to the canal's edge. Its structure is simple. A flat deck with a small cabin built onto it. The cabin's walls are painted white, but the paint has yellowed with age. Small windows line the cabin's sides. Curtains are drawn across all of them. A single light glows inside, visible as a warm presence behind the fabric. The boat's mooring lines are thick rope, darkened by water and age. They run from metal cleats on the boat's deck to bollards set into the canal's stone edge. The rope is taut, but shows some slack, allowing the boat to shift slightly with any water movement. Currently, the water is still enough that the boat barely moves. You continue past the houseboat. The canal path extends forward. More boats appear at intervals, each moored similarly. Some are houseboats with cabins. Others are simpler vessels, open decks with only canvas covers for protection. One boat ahead is covered entirely by a blue tarp, secured with bungee cords to cleats along its edges. The path curves gently left, following the canal's natural bend. The buildings on your left curve with it, maintaining their position relative to the street. The canal curves on your right. Everything shifts together in a gradual arc. A bridge appears where the canal curves. This one is smaller than the last, spanning a narrower section of water. Its arch is lower, more subtle. The bridge carries a residential street across the canal. No vehicles are present. The street continues into darkness on the far side. You don't cross this bridge. Your path continues along the canal's edge, passing beneath the bridge's approach on this side. The space under the bridge's beginning creates a brief overhead shelter. The rain doesn't reach here directly. The cobblestones are still wet from earlier, but no new rain falls on them in this protected space. Beyond the bridge, the rain resumes. The path opens again. The canal continues to your right. The buildings rise on your left. The rhythm of walking resumes its full pattern. Footsteps meeting wet stone with familiar soft sounds. A cat moves in the shadows ahead. It walks along the building wall, staying close to where wall meets ground. Its fur appears dark, possibly black or very dark grey. The cat moves steadily, not hurrying, not stopping. It reaches a doorway, sits briefly, then continues forward. It doesn't look toward you. Its attention remains focused ahead, on its own path. The cat reaches a corner and turns, disappearing from view. The street returns to stillness. Only your footsteps and the rain's presence fill the space with sound. The canal widens slightly ahead. The water spreads into a broader section, creating more surface area. The reflections here are more expansive. A larger portion of sky appears in the water. The buildings across the canal seem farther away, their reflections smaller in the increased distance. A small dock extends into this wider section. It's a simple wooden platform, perhaps 2 meters square. Metal railings run along 3 sides. The 4th side connects to the canal's stone edge. The dock's purpose isn't immediately clear. No boats are tied to it. No equipment sits on its surface. It simply exists, offering access to the water. You continue past the dock. The canal begins to narrow again gradually. The buildings draw closer on both sides. The corridor feeling returns. The space becomes more enclosed, more intimate. A window opens on an upper floor across the canal. You hear the sound first, glass sliding against frame. Then you see the window swinging inward. A figure appears briefly, silhouetted against interior light. The figure leans out slightly, looking down at the street and canal below. Then the figure withdraws. The window closes. The building returns to its previous state. Your path continues forward. The canal runs beside it. The buildings rise steadily. The rain falls without variation. Each element maintains its presence. Nothing accelerates. Nothing stops. The experience simply continues, unfolding step by step. Another bridge appears ahead. This one is wider than the previous 2. It carries a street with tram tracks embedded in its surface. The tracks cross the canal, continuing on both sides. The bridge's arch is higher, allowing taller boats to pass beneath. Street lamps are positioned at both ends of the bridge, their light reflecting off the wet stone surface. You approach the bridge, but don't cross it. Your path turns right just before the bridge's base, leading away from the canal temporarily. The turn takes you onto a side street, narrower than the canal path. Buildings press close on both sides. The space between them is perhaps 2.5 meters wide. This street is darker. Fewer lights reach into it. The building's ground floors are mostly dark. Upper windows show occasional light, but it's dim and distant. The primary illumination comes from a street lamp positioned halfway down the block, its light spreading enough to make the path visible. The cobblestones here are smaller, more tightly fitted together. They create a smoother surface than the larger stones near the canal. Your footsteps sound slightly different on them, less distinct, more blended together. The rain hitting these smaller stones creates a softer, more continuous sound. A doorway on the right shows signs of use despite the late hour. A small light above the door is on. A brass mailbox is mounted beside the door frame. The mailbox shows wear, its surface scratched and dented. A bicycle is locked to a rack, positioned just to the side of the doorway. The bicycle is newer, its frame clean despite the rain. You pass the doorway. The street continues straight. The buildings maintain their close positions on either side. The narrow space feels consistent, unchanging. The rain falls into this corridor steadily. The street ends at another intersection. This one is smaller, connecting residential streets without tram tracks. The crossing street is empty. No movement. No light except for a single street lamp on the far corner. You turn left at the intersection. The new street is similar in width to the one you're leaving. Buildings continue their close presence. The rain continues falling. The pattern remains familiar. Ahead, the street begins to widen slightly. The buildings on the left start to pull back, creating more open space. A small square appears, perhaps 10 meters across. Trees are planted around its edges, their branches bare of leaves. The wet bark appears black in the low light. You enter the square. The cobblestones here are arranged in a circular pattern, radiating from a central point. The pattern is subtle, visible mainly through slight variations in stone size and spacing. The rain has filled the small gaps between stones, creating a nearly uniform wet surface. A bench sits against one of the trees. Its back rests against the tree's trunk. The bench faces across the square, toward the street you're approaching. Like others you've passed, this bench is empty. Rain beads on its surface. The wood appears dark and saturated. You cross the square diagonally. Your footsteps follow the circular stone pattern toward the opposite corner. The trees stand silent around the square's perimeter. Their branches move slightly in a barely perceptible wind, but the movement is minimal. The rain falls through the branches, its path unobstructed by the absent leaves. The square's far side leads to another narrow street. You enter it. The buildings return to their close positions immediately. The brief openness of the square ends. The enclosed feeling resumes. This street slopes downward slightly. The decline is gentle but noticeable. Each step finds ground marginally lower than the last. Water runs down the street's center in a thin stream, following the slope toward lower ground. The canal reappears ahead. The street you're following ends at a canal path. The water comes into view gradually as you approach the intersection. First, you see its reflection on the building walls ahead. Then the water itself appears dark and still, running perpendicular to your approach. You reach the canal path and turn right. The water is on your left now. Buildings rise on your right. The path resumes its familiar form. The canal's edge is marked by a low stone wall. The water sits just below street level, perhaps half a meter down. A boat passes in the distance, moving slowly along the canal. Its lights are minimal, just small navigation lights at bow and stern. The boat makes almost no wake. The water behind it barely disturbs. The boat continues forward until it disappears around a bend in the canal. You continue walking. The path follows the canal's edge. The buildings maintain their steady presence. The rain falls onto stone and water. Your footsteps continue their rhythm, unchanged. The canal continues ahead. The path follows its edge. Buildings rise on the right. Water sits still on the left. The rain maintains its steady presence. You pass another bridge. This one is smaller than earlier crossings. It arcs gently across the canal. The stone is darker where water has soaked into it. Your footsteps sound different as you cross, the hollow space beneath altering the echo slightly. From the bridge's center, the canal extends in both directions. Lights reflect along its length. The reflections stretch and compress with small movements in the water. A bicycle passes on the opposite path, its tires making a soft hissing sound against wet pavement. The rider moves steadily, disappearing into the distance. You descend the bridge's far side. The path resumes at water level. The buildings here are similar to those you've been passing. Narrow facades, tall windows, brick surfaces darkened by rain. Some windows show light, others remain dark. The canal bends slightly ahead. The curve is gentle, pulling the path gradually to the right. You follow it. The water follows the same curve. Buildings follow the canal's edge, their placement creating the street shape. A tram passes on a parallel street. You hear its electric hum first, then see its lights briefly between buildings. The sound fades as it continues along its route. The street returns to quietness. The path widens slightly. A small tree grows near the canal's edge. Its branches are bare. Rain falls through them without obstruction. The wet bark appears black. The tree stands alone, no others nearby. You continue past the tree. The path narrows again immediately. The pattern of wide and narrow sections repeats throughout the canal system. Each variation is brief. The standard width returns quickly. Ahead, another bridge appears. This one is wider than the last. The arch is higher. The span reaches farther across the canal. You approach it slowly. The incline begins gradually. As you climb, the perspective changes. The canal stretches longer in both directions from this height. More lights become visible. More reflections appear on the water's surface. The rain falls through the elevated space. At the bridge's peak, you pause. The view extends down the canal's length. Buildings line both sides. Their facades create parallel walls of brick and window. The water runs between them, dark and still. A single boat sits moored along the far bank, unlit and unmoving. You continue across the bridge. The descent begins. Each step brings you closer to water level again. The buildings rise around you as you descend. The broader perspective narrows back to the intimate scale of the path. The far side returns you to the canal edge. The path continues forward, water on your left, buildings on your right, rain falling steadily. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm. The canal straightens. The The path ahead extends without curving for some distance. Street lamps appear at regular intervals. Their light creates pools of illumination along the path. Between the pools, darkness deepens. You walk through alternating sections of light and shadow. Each lamp brightens the path for several meters. Then the darkness returns. Then another lamp appears. The pattern repeats. A small intersection approaches. A narrow street crosses the canal path. The street is barely wider than the path itself. No tram tracks run through it. The intersection is marked only by a slight widening where the two paths meet. You continue straight through the intersection. The canal path resumes immediately. The crossing street disappears behind you. The water continues alongside. The buildings begin to change slightly. The facades become marginally wider. The windows grow taller. The architectural details become more pronounced. Carved stonework appears above some doorways. Decorative elements emerge in the brick patterns. These changes are subtle. The overall character remains consistent. The buildings still stand close together. The street remains narrow. The rain still falls on similar surfaces. You pass a doorway set back slightly from the building's face. A small step leads up to it. The door is dark wood, its surface gleaming with rain. No light shows from within. The building appears residential, like most along this path. The canal widens ahead. The water expands from perhaps 4 meters across to 6 or 7. The buildings pull back slightly to accommodate the broader waterway. The path remains the same width. A second canal appears, joining the first from the right. The two waterways meet at an acute angle, forming a Y-shaped junction. The water merges smoothly. No barrier separates the two channels. They become one wider canal that continues forward. You walk past the junction point. The combined canal is noticeably broader. The far bank appears more distant. The reflections spread across more surface. The rain's impact on the water creates more visible patterns. The path curves gently left, following the wider canal. The buildings maintain their presence on your right. Some show light in their windows. Most remain dark. The distribution of lit and unlit windows appears random. A boat approaches from ahead, moving slowly along the canal. Its lights are minimal, just enough to mark its presence. The boat's engine makes a low, steady sound. The water parts gently around its bow. The boat passes. You continue walking. The boat continues moving. The distance between you increases. The boat's lights gradually diminish. The canal returns to stillness. The path narrows slightly. The buildings press closer again. The wider section has ended. The intimate scale returns. The canal reduces to its earlier width. You pass another small bridge. This one connects two sections of a street that the canal has interrupted. The bridge is purely functional. No decorative elements, just stone shaped to span the water. The rain continues falling. The sound remains constant. Water runs along the path's edge where stone meets stone. Small streams form in the gaps, flowing toward lower ground. Ahead, the canal bends right. The curve is more pronounced than earlier bends. The path follows it closely. The buildings curve with the canal, maintaining their parallel relationship to the water. As you round the curve, a longer straight section appears. The canal extends forward without turning for perhaps 100 meters. Street lamps line the path at regular intervals. Their reflections create a line of lights in the water. You enter this straight section. The rhythm of walking becomes more apparent here. Footsteps mark regular intervals. The distance between lamps provides consistent measures. The path's straightness removes variation. The buildings here are particularly uniform. Each facade is similar in width to its neighbors. The windows align horizontally across multiple buildings. The roof lines follow a consistent height. The brick color varies only slightly. A narrow alley appears between two buildings. It extends back into darkness. The alley is barely wide enough for a single person. No light reaches into it. You continue past it on the main path. The straight section continues. More windows, more doorways, more brick surfaces. The repetition creates a steady visual rhythm that matches the rhythm of walking. A cat appears ahead, sitting on a windowsill behind glass. It watches the street. The cat's eyes reflect the street light briefly. Then it turns away, losing interest. The window shows a dim interior beyond the cat. You pass the window. The cat remains on its sill. The building continues past the window. More facade, more brick, more rain falling on stone surfaces. The canal's straight section begins to end. A gentle curve appears ahead. The path follows it. The water follows it. The buildings follow it. Everything curves together in the same gradual arc. Around the curve, a small square opens on the right. The buildings pull back, creating an open space perhaps 15 meters across. Trees are planted around its edges. Their bare branches reach upward into the rain. The square is empty. No benches, no structures. Just open cobblestone space surrounded by buildings and trees. The cobblestones here are arranged in a radial pattern, lines extending from a central point. You continue past the square's entrance. The opening slides by on your right. The buildings resume their close presence immediately beyond it. The canal path continues without interruption. The water reflects less light now. The street lamps are spaced farther apart in this section. The darkness between them extends longer. The path moves through deeper shadows. You pass through one of these darker sections. The nearest street lamp is behind you. The next is ahead. Your eyes adjust to the reduced light. Details become less distinct. Shapes simplify. The buildings become silhouettes. The next lamp approaches. Light gradually increases. Details emerge again. The brick texture returns. Window frames become visible. Doorways regain their depth. The cycle continues. Light to shadow to light. Each lamp creates its pool of visibility. Each dark section obscures and simplifies. The path progresses through this alternating pattern. A bridge appears ahead. This one is similar to others you've crossed. A gentle arch. Stone construction. Wide enough for two people to pass. The canal flows beneath it without change. You begin climbing the bridge. The incline is familiar now. The sensation of rising above water level repeats. The perspective shifts upward. The view extends along the canal's length. At the bridge's peak, you pause briefly. The canal stretches in both directions. Reflections pattern the water. Buildings line both banks. Rain falls on everything visible. You descend the bridge's far side. The path returns to water level. The canal edge resumes its position on your left. Buildings resume their position on your right. The established pattern continues. The path ahead shows no variation. The same elements repeat. Canal, buildings, rain, street lamps, reflections. The consistency becomes the defining characteristic. You continue forward. Each step finds wet cobblestone. Each step sounds against stone. Each step advances you along the path. progression continues without marked events. A window shows light ahead. As you approach, movement becomes visible inside. Someone crosses the room, visible briefly through the glass. They don't look toward the window. They continue across the space and disappear from view. The window remains lit, but shows no further movement. You pass the window. The light falls on the path briefly, then fades behind you. The darkness between street lamps resumes. The canal bends slightly left. The curve is gentle. The path follows it without difficulty. The water curves with the path. Everything moves together through the turn. Beyond the curve, the canal straightens again. This straight section is shorter than the previous one, perhaps 50 meters, before the next curve appears. The buildings here show fewer lit windows. Most facades are dark. The occupied spaces appear less frequent. The sense of late night deepens. You pass dark window after dark window. The glass reflects streetlight and rain. No interior light competes with these reflections. The buildings appear as surfaces rather than as occupied spaces. Another curve approaches. This one bends right. The angle is similar to previous curves. The path follows the canal through the turn. The buildings follow the path. The rain continues falling. Its presence never varies. The sound remains constant. Water accumulates on every horizontal surface. Reflections persist on every wet vertical surface. The path continues into another straight section. The pattern of straight and curved segments repeats throughout the canal system. Each section has similar length. Each curve has similar angle. The variation is minimal. You walk through this straight section. Footsteps, street lamps, buildings, water, rain. The elements remain consistent. The experience continues without disruption. Ahead, the canal widens again slightly. The expansion is gradual. The water's width increases by a meter or so. The far bank becomes slightly more distant. The path widens proportionally. An extra meter of cobblestone appears between the buildings and the canal edge. The increased space creates a marginally more open feeling. This wider section continues for some distance. The buildings maintain their height. Their facades remain close. But the path's increased width provides additional space. A bench appears along the path's edge. It faces the canal. The bench is empty. Rain beads on its wooden surface. The wood appears dark and saturated with water. You pass the bench. It remains empty behind you. The path continues beyond it. The wider section continues. Another bench appears farther ahead. This one is also empty. It faces the same direction. Rain falls on it in the same way. The benches appear at regular intervals along this wider path section. You pass the second bench. The path continues forward. The canal continues alongside. The rain continues falling. The pattern persists without variation. The path continues through the wider section. The canal remains beside you. The water reflects the same streetlights in the same patterns. Rain falls steadily across the surface. Small ripples spread from each impact point. The ripples intersect and fade continuously. The buildings along this stretch maintain their tall, narrow proportions. Their facades show minimal variation. Some windows glow with interior light. Most remain dark. The pattern alternates without obvious rhythm. You pass beneath one street lamp, then walk toward the next. The distance between them is consistent. The pools of light overlap slightly where they meet. The darker spaces between lamps are brief. Your footsteps sound against wet cobblestone. Each step produces a soft impact. The sound is absorbed quickly by the ain. The ambient noise of falling water surrounds everything. It creates a layer that softens all other sounds. The wider path section continues for another stretch. The canal's increased width persists. The far bank remains slightly more distant than before. Buildings line both sides at the same height. Their roof lines create parallel lines against the dark sky. Rain falls between these lines. It descends through the open space above the canal. The water below receives it continuously. The surface shows constant motion from the impacts. Reflections waver but never disappear. The light patterns stretch and compress but maintain their essential shapes. Streetlights appear as vertical lines of warm color. Window lights add smaller points of illumination. The overall effect is consistent along this section. Another bench appears ahead. It sits in the same position as the previous benches. It faces the canal at the same angle. Rain darkens its wooden surface. Water beads along the horizontal slats. The bench is empty. You pass it without stopping. It joins the others behind you. The path continues forward. The rhythm of walking persists. Footsteps follow footsteps. Each one advances you along the route. The progression is steady and unhurried. Time passes through the accumulation of steps. Distance increases gradually. The canal accompanies you throughout. The wider section begins to narrow again. The transition is gradual. The path's width decreases by small increments. The canal's width reduces proportionally. The far bank becomes closer over the span of several meters. The buildings seem to lean in slightly as the space contracts. Their facades resume their previous proximity to the path. The sense of enclosure increases gently. The narrower configuration returns without abruptness. This section resembles earlier portions of the route. The canal width matches previous measurements. The path returns to its standard dimensions. The buildings resume their typical spacing. The pattern of straight sections and curves continues. You walk through another straight segment. The canal runs parallel to your path. The water surface reflects the buildings and lights. Rain adds texture to these reflections. The image in the water never becomes perfectly clear. It wavers continuously. The movement is gentle but constant. Ahead, another curve appears. This one bends left. The angle is familiar. The path follows the canal through the turn. Your footsteps trace the curve. The buildings curve with the path. Everything moves together through the bend. The coordination is complete. Beyond the curve, another straight section begins. This pattern has repeated many times. It will continue to repeat. You pass more buildings. Some show signs of occupation. A window glows from within. Movement occasionally crosses the lit space. A shadow passes briefly. Then the window returns to its previous state, empty but illuminated. Other windows remain dark throughout. Their glass reflects only external light. Street lamps appear in the dark panes. Rain streaks down the glass surface. The water catches light as it descends. Small highlights trace vertical paths. The effect appears on window after window. Each pane shows similar patterns. The consistency is complete. The temperature remains steady. The air feels cool, but not cold. The rain maintains its light, continuous presence. It doesn't intensify. It doesn't diminish. The sound level stays constant. Water falls on stone, on water, on building surfaces. Each material produces its characteristic sound. The composite creates the ambient layer. This layer never breaks. It fills every moment. It surrounds every other sound. Footsteps occur within it. Distant sounds emerge from it briefly before fading back. The rain's presence is absolute. The path continues along the canal. You walk steadily forward. The route stretches ahead without visible end. Each section leads to the next section. Straight segments connect through curves. The canal accompanies everything. Its presence is constant. The water reflects. The surface moves gently. The far bank parallels your path. The overall configuration persists without major variation. You've been walking for some time now. The experience has developed a rhythm. Footsteps, street lamps, buildings, water, rain. These elements repeat in consistent patterns. The repetition creates familiarity. The route feels less new with each passing section. Another small bridge appears ahead. It crosses the canal at a right angle to your path. The bridge's arch is low and gentle. Stone forms its structure. The surface is wet from rain. Streetlights illuminate it from both approaches. You reach the bridge and begin crossing. Your footsteps change sound slightly on the bridge surface. The stone here is smoother than the cobblestones. The echo quality shifts. The sound reflects off the water below more directly. You cross the bridge's apex. The canal passes underneath. From this elevated position, the water is briefly visible in both directions. Reflections stretch along both sections. The view extends farther than from the path level. Then you descend the bridge's far side. The elevated perspective ends. You return to the canal side path. The sound of footsteps returns to its previous quality. The path continues on this side of the canal. The configuration is similar to before. Buildings line the route. The canal runs alongside. Street lamps provide illumination at intervals. Rain continues falling. Everything proceeds as it has been proceeding. The experience maintains its established character. Nothing disrupts the pattern. The elements remain consistent. You walk through this consistency. Each step is like previous steps. Each moment resembles previous moments. The differences are minimal. The overall experience is continuous. More buildings pass. More windows appear and recede. More reflections waver in the canal water. The accumulation continues. Time passes through this accumulation. You don't track the time precisely. It flows without measurement. The experience fills the duration. Walking fills the time. Observation fills the moments. The rain fills the spaces between other sounds. Everything interlocks completely. No gaps appear in the experience. Each element supports the others. The whole remains intact. Here, the canal begins another gentle curve. This one bends right. The path follows it. The buildings follow the path. The curve is smooth and gradual. You walk through it without difficulty. The angle changes slowly. Then the path straightens again. This straight section continues for a moderate distance. The canal maintains its width. The water surface shows the same reflections. Streetlight patterns repeat along the length. Building facades continue their repetition. Window patterns vary slightly, but maintain overall similarity. The architectural style remains consistent throughout this district. The buildings appear to be from the same period. The proportions match. The materials are similar. The overall effect is unified. Another bench appears along the path. It occupies the same position as previous benches. It faces the canal. Rain darkens its surface. The wood is saturated. Water beads along its edges. The bench is empty. No one sits in the rain. The path is empty except for you. Your presence is solitary. The buildings contain people. Their windows sometimes show this, but the exterior spaces remain empty. The paths belong to the rain and the reflections. You pass the empty bench. It remains behind you. The path continues ahead. Your footsteps continue forward. The route progresses through the district. The canal system connects different areas. Each section resembles others, but occupies different space. The water flows slowly through the system. The direction is not obvious. The movement is too gentle to create visible current. But the water must flow somewhere. The canals connect to larger bodies eventually. The system has logic, even if that logic isn't visible in individual sections. You walk through this system. The path traces the canal's edge. The route follows the water. Where the water goes, the path goes. They're linked completely. More time passes, more distance accumulates. The experience continues its pattern. Footsteps, street lamps, buildings, canal, water, rain. The elements cycle through repetition. Each instance is slightly different. Each instance is essentially the same. The balance between difference and sameness defines the experience. Complete sameness would be static. Complete difference would be chaotic. The actual experience falls between these extremes. It changes enough to continue. It repeats enough to cohere. The balance is maintained naturally. No effort is required. You simply walk. The environment provides the rest. The buildings here show fewer lit windows. The hour grows later. More lights have been extinguished. More residents have gone to sleep. The district settles into deeper night. The darkness increases incrementally. The street lamps become more prominent as other light sources diminish. Their warm glow stands out more strongly. The pools of light they create seem brighter by contrast. The spaces between lamps seem darker. The overall illumination decreases gradually, but the path remains visible. The route remains clear. Walking continues without difficulty. The canal surface darkens with the decreasing light. The reflections persist, but appear deeper in tone. The contrast between light and dark increases. Reflected street lamps glow more intensely against the darker water. The vertical lines of light become more defined. The patterns sharpen slightly. The overall effect remains similar, but shifts in tone. The darker base makes the lights more vivid. The rain continues adding texture. Each drop creates its ripple. The ripples intersect continuously. The surface never stills completely. The movement is constant but gentle. The water remains essentially calm despite the continuous disturbance. You pass more building facades. The architecture maintains its consistency. Tall, narrow structures, brick and stone construction, large windows in regular patterns, steep roof lines, small details in the masonry. These characteristics repeat building after building. The style is unified across the district. Individual variations exist, but within narrow parameters. No building stands out dramatically. No structure breaks the overall pattern. The effect is harmonious. The buildings work together to create a continuous environment. You move through this environment steadily. The facades pass on one side. The canal passes on the other. The route continues forward. Another curve approaches. The canal bends left. The path follows. You walk through the curve. The angle is familiar. The radius is similar to previous curves. The transition is smooth. Beyond the curve, another straight section begins. This pattern has become completely familiar. It no longer surprises. It simply continues. Straight section, curve, straight section, curve. The rhythm repeats throughout the canal system. The variations are minor. The overall pattern is fixed. You navigate it without thought. The route has become intuitive. Footsteps follow the path automatically. Attention rests lightly on the surroundings. The experience flows without effort. The rain maintains its presence. The sound never changes. The intensity never varies. Light, steady rain, continuous, pervasive. It falls on every surface. It fills every pause between other sounds. It creates the base layer of the acoustic environment. Everything else occurs within this layer. Footsteps sound through it. Distant sounds emerge from it. But it never disappears. It never recedes. The rain is the constant element, more constant than the buildings, more constant than the path, more constant than the water. The rain simply continues. It was here before you arrived. It will remain after you pass. Its presence is independent of your movement. You move through it. It surrounds you, but it doesn't follow you. It exists everywhere equally. The path continues forward. The canal accompanies you. The route stretches ahead. More buildings wait in the distance. More street lamps illuminate future sections. More curves will require navigation. More straight segments will allow steady progress. The pattern will continue. The experience will persist. You walk into this continuation. Each step advances you into space that will become familiar as you enter it. The unknown ahead becomes the known present, becomes the remembered behind. The progression is continuous. The transformation is constant. You move through space. Time moves through experience. Everything flows together. The canal, the path, the rain, the night, your movement through it all. You continue along the canal. The water reflects everything softly. Narrow buildings rise on both sides. Their windows glow with warm interior light. The rain falls steadily across all surfaces. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm. Wet cobblestones provide consistent texture underfoot. Each step produces a soft sound. The sound mingles with falling rain. Together, they create familiar layering. The path curves gently ahead. You follow without adjustment. The canal curves with the path. Water and walkway move together. The architecture curves to match. Street lamps illuminate the route forward. Their light reflects in the water below. Each reflection stretches slightly with movement. The water surface carries constant small disturbances. Rain creates endless, intersecting ripples. You pass beneath a small tree. Its branches extend over the path. Rain collects on leaves before falling. Larger drops land on your shoulders occasionally. The tree provides brief partial shelter. Beyond the tree, the path opens again. Full rain returns immediately. The intensity hasn't changed, light and steady throughout. It continues without variation. Another bridge appears ahead. Small arched stone construction. Similar to previous bridges. The approach is gradual. Steps lead upward gently. You begin crossing. The sound beneath your feet shifts. Stone responds differently than cobblestone. The texture is smoother. Your footsteps echo slightly under the arch. At the peak of the bridge, you pause briefly. The view extends in both directions. Canal water stretches away. Reflections line both sides. Buildings frame everything symmetrically. You continue across. The descent begins. Steps lead downward at the same gentle angle. The transition back to level ground is smooth. Cobblestones return underfoot. The path continues beside the canal. The pattern resumes. Water on one side, buildings on the other. The route stretches forward. Everything maintains its established rhythm. A bicycle passes in the distance. Its light moves across a parallel street. The sound is faint. Tires on wet pavement. The sound fades quickly. Silence returns to its previous state. The buildings here stand very close together. Narrow facades repeat endlessly. Each structure is distinct but similar. Tall windows, steep roof lines, brick and stone. These elements combine in slightly different arrangements. More windows glow from within. The interiors remain private. You see only light and occasionally shadow. The details stay hidden. The warmth reaches outward nonetheless. The rain continues its work. It darkens every surface. Stone becomes deeper in tone. Brick shows richer color. Wood appears almost black. Water gathers in every slight depression. Your path follows the canal's edge closely. The water moves almost imperceptibly. Current exists, but flows slowly. The surface shows mostly stillness. Only rain disturbs it continuously. You notice the sound layering again. Rain provides the foundation. Footsteps add regular rhythm. Water adds occasional, gentle movement. Distant sounds emerge and fade. Everything exists together without conflict. The route curves right. The canal bends. You follow naturally. The curve is broad and gentle. Navigation requires no conscious thought. Your movement adjusts automatically. Another straight section unfolds. The perspective extends forward. Street lamps create regular intervals of light. The spaces between remain darker. The pattern alternates into the distance. You pass a small intersection. A side street branches away. You continue straight. The canal remains your guide. The main route holds your attention. The intersection is quiet. No movement crosses. No lights approach. The side street disappears into darkness quickly. Your path continues unchanged. More reflections pattern the water. Each light source creates its double. The doubles waver slightly. They stretch and compress with small water movements. The effect is constant but never repetitive. The buildings remain consistent in character. Their age shows in small ways. Slight irregularities in brickwork, variations in window placement, weathering on stone details. These signs appear everywhere subtly. You continue forward steadily. The pace hasn't varied. The rhythm remains established. Each step follows the previous naturally. The progression feels effortless. Rain falls on the canal surface. Each drop creates expanding circles. The circles intersect continuously. They form temporary patterns. The patterns dissolve and reform endlessly. The process never completes. Your awareness rests lightly on surroundings. Nothing demands attention. Everything simply exists. The environment presents itself without urgency. You move through it calmly. Another curve approaches. The canal bends left this time. The angle is gentle. You follow the path. The transition is smooth. The curve completes without event. Beyond the curve, the route straightens again. This pattern has become completely familiar. Straight sections and curves alternate. The rhythm is established. The variations are minor. You notice how the rain affects sound. It softens everything slightly. Distant sounds become gentler. Nearby sounds gain texture. The acoustic environment feels enclosed. The rain creates subtle boundaries. A tram passes somewhere distant. The sound is faint and brief. Rails hum softly. The sound fades quickly. Silence fills the space it occupied. The rain continues unchanged. The water beside you shows deep reflections. The darkness of night creates strong contrast. Lights appear more vivid against the dark surface. The effect intensifies as night deepens. Each reflection becomes more defined. You pass more doorways. Each is set into building facades. Most are dark. Occasionally, one shows light through glass. The interiors remain private. Only suggestions reach outward. The path maintains its character. Wet cobblestones continue. Their texture is completely familiar now. Your feet know the surface. Balance adjusts automatically. Attention can rest elsewhere. More bridges will appear ahead. More curves will guide the route. More straight sections will allow steady progress. The pattern will continue as it has. The experience will persist. The rain shows no sign of changing. Its steadiness is absolute. The intensity remains light. The coverage is complete. It falls on everything equally. You notice water gathering along the canal edge. Small pools form where stone dips slightly. The pools reflect whatever light reaches them. They add to the overall pattern of reflection. The route continues forward. The canal accompanies you. Buildings line the path. Street lamps provide regular illumination. Rain maintains its presence. Everything exists together in established relationship. Another bridge appears. You approach slowly. The steps rise gently. You climb without effort. The peak arrives. The view extends briefly. You descend the other side. The rhythm of crossing bridges has become familiar. Approach. Ascend. Pause briefly. Descend. Continue. The pattern repeats with each bridge. The variations are minimal. The path stretches ahead. More distance waits. More canal extends forward. More buildings frame the route. More rain will fall. The continuation is certain. Your footsteps maintain their pace. The rhythm hasn't changed. Each step follows naturally. The progression continues. Time passes through movement. The architecture remains consistent. Tall, narrow buildings, regular window patterns, steep roof lines, brick and stone construction. These elements repeat endlessly. The style is unified completely. Water reflects everything in reach: buildings, lights, sky. Each element finds its double below. The doubles shift gently. They remain recognizable despite distortion. The canal acts as mirror and filter simultaneously. You continue walking. The motion is steady. The pace is comfortable. The route is clear. Everything proceeds as established. More curves will guide you. More straight sections will extend ahead. The pattern will continue. The experience will flow forward. You move into this continuation. Rain falls on your shoulders. It collects on fabric. The weight is negligible. The sensation is constant. You remain aware of it without focusing on it. The night surrounds everything. Darkness fills spaces between lights. The contrast makes illumination more visible. Each light source stands out clearly. The darkness provides context. You pass another small tree. Its leaves catch rain. Water drips from branches. The sound is slightly different from rain hitting other surfaces. The variation is subtle but present. The canal continues beside you. Its presence is constant. The water moves slowly. The surface responds to rain continuously. The relationship between rain and water never ends. Your path follows the canal's edge. The route is determined by water. Where the canal goes, you go. The guidance is simple and clear. More windows glow softly. Interior lights reach outward. The warmth suggests life within. The details remain hidden. Only light escapes. The cobblestones glisten. Water covers them completely. Light reflects from their wet surfaces. The path shows texture and shine simultaneously. Another intersection passes. You continue straight. The canal remains your guide. Side streets branch away. Your attention stays forward. The route curves gently. You follow naturally. The transition is smooth. The curve completes. Another straight section begins. Rain continues falling. Its presence fills everything. The sound is constant. The sensation is steady. The effect is pervasive. Nothing exists outside the rain. You notice the rhythm of your walking. Each step matches the previous. The pace is established completely. Variation is minimal. The progression is smooth. More distance passes. More path moves beneath your feet. More canal flows beside you. More rain falls around you. Everything continues in established pattern. The buildings stand unchanging. Their facades remain constant. Windows hold their positions. Roof lines maintain their angles. Everything persists as it was. Water gathers in slight depressions. Small pools form and remain. They reflect fragments of light. The reflections are incomplete but recognizable. You continue forward. The motion persists. The path extends. The canal accompanies. Rain surrounds. Night contains everything. Another bridge rises ahead. You approach steadily. The climb begins. The peak arrives. The descent follows. Level ground returns. The pattern continues without end. Straight sections and curves. Bridges and level paths. Buildings and water. Light and darkness. Rain throughout everything. Your footsteps provide rhythm. The sound is familiar. The pattern is established. The consistency is complete. Everything flows together. The canal reflects the night. Buildings double in water. Lights repeat below. The surface carries everything. The reflection is imperfect but continuous. You walk forward. The route stretches ahead. More distance waits. More path extends. More canal flows beside. More rain falls steadily. The experience continues. The pattern persists. The rhythm maintains. Everything flows forward. You move through it all. The night surrounds you. The rain falls constantly. The path continues. The canal flows. The buildings stand. The lights glow. Everything exists together. The progression is endless. The movement is steady. The rain never stops. You continue walking. The route extends forward. The pattern repeats. The experience flows. Everything continues. The night persists. The path curves gently ahead. You follow without hesitation. The canal bends with the path. Everything moves together through the turn. The water beside you reflects fewer lights now. The buildings show mostly dark windows. The district has settled deeper into night. Only occasional interior lights remain visible. Your footsteps continue their established rhythm. The wet cobblestones respond with familiar sounds. Each step follows naturally from the last. The progression feels effortless. Another bridge rises ahead. The arch is low and gentle. You begin climbing slowly. The wet brick surface is known to your feet now. At the bridge's peak, you pause. The canal stretches in both directions. Reflections pattern the dark water. Rain falls steadily across everything visible. You descend the far side. The path resumes at water level. The canal continues beside you. Buildings line your right side. The route extends forward. The rain maintains its constant presence. The sound never varies. Light steady drops falling on every surface. The acoustic layer remains complete. You pass another darkened doorway. The building facade continues beyond it. More brick, more windows. The architectural pattern persists without change. A bicycle leans against a railing ahead. Its frame is dark with moisture. Rain beads on the metal surfaces. You pass it steadily. The canal widens slightly. The water's surface broadens. More reflections spread across the increased area. The pattern of light on water expands proportionally. Your pace remains unchanged. Each step maintains the established interval. The rhythm has become completely natural. No conscious adjustment is needed. The buildings here are particularly uniform. Their facades align closely. Windows match in size and placement. Roof lines follow consistent heights. The effect is harmonious. Another curve approaches. The canal bends right. The path follows its edge. You turn with the route naturally. The transition is smooth. Beyond the curve, another straight section begins. The canal extends forward without turning. Street lamps mark regular intervals. Their light reflects in the water below. You continue along this straight path. Footsteps mark steady progress. The canal accompanies you throughout. Water flows beside your route quietly. More windows remain dark now. Fewer interior lights show. The hour continues advancing. The district grows quieter with each passing section. The rain falls through the space above the canal. Each drop creates its small disturbance on the water. The ripples spread and intersect endlessly. The pattern never resolves. You pass beneath a small overhang. The rain sound changes briefly above you. Then you return to open air. The full rain resumes immediately. The path continues forward. The canal remains at your side. Buildings frame everything consistently. The route stretches ahead without visible end. Another bridge appears in the distance. You approach it slowly. The incline begins gradually. Your feet find the wet stone surface. The climb is gentle and familiar. The angle increases slightly with each step. The bridge's peak arrives without strain. The view extends briefly along the canal. You descend the opposite side. The path returns to level ground. The canal edge resumes its position beside you. The pattern continues as established. Water gathers in small pools along the path edge. The cobblestones dip slightly in places. Rain collects in these depressions. Each pool reflects fragments of nearby light. Your footsteps move through occasional shallow water. The sound changes subtly when this occurs. Then dry stone returns. The variation is minimal. The buildings maintain their close presence. Their facades pass steadily on your right. Each structure is distinct but similar. The overall character remains constant. Another bicycle appears ahead. This one stands upright on its kickstand. Rain has collected in its basket. The water sits dark and still. You pass the bicycle. The path continues beyond it. The canal flows alongside. Rain falls steadily across all surfaces. The route curves left. The canal bends. You follow naturally. The architecture curves to match. Everything moves together through the turn. A tram passes on a distant parallel street. The sound is faint, electric hum and rail contact. The sound fades quickly into the rain. The path straightens again. Another straight section unfolds. The canal extends forward. Reflections line its length on both sides. You notice how the rain creates texture everywhere. Wet surfaces show different qualities. Stone becomes darker. Brick shows richer color. Metal gleams. Water collects and reflects. Your pace continues unchanged. The rhythm persists completely. Each step follows its predecessor naturally. The progression flows without interruption. More distance passes beneath your feet. More canal moves beside you. More buildings frame your path. More rain falls around you. Everything continues as established. The street lamps provide regular illumination. Their spacing is consistent. The pools of light they create overlap slightly. The darker spaces between are brief. You walk through these alternating sections. Light, shadow, light, shadow. The pattern repeats along the route's length. Another small intersection appears. A side street branches away. You continue straight. The canal remains your guide. The main path holds forward. The intersection is quiet and empty. No movement crosses. No sounds emerge from the side street. It disappears into darkness quickly. Your route continues beside the canal. The water reflects everything within reach. Buildings, lights, sky. Each element finds its double below. The doubles waver gently with water movement. They remain recognizable despite distortion. The canal acts as imperfect mirror throughout. You pass more building facades. The architecture maintains its character. Tall, narrow structures, regular window patterns, steep roof lines. These elements repeat continuously. A cat appears briefly on a windowsill. It sits behind glass watching outward. Its eyes catch light momentarily. Then it turns away. The window shows only dim interior beyond. The path curves right again. The canal bends with it. You follow the established route. The transition is smooth and familiar. Beyond the curve, the straight section resumes. The pattern of curves and straight segments continues. Each variation follows naturally from the previous. The rain shows no change in character. Its steadiness is absolute. The intensity remains light throughout. The coverage is complete and even. You notice the layering of sounds again. Rain provides foundation. Footsteps add rhythm. Water adds gentle movement. Everything exists together without conflict. Another bridge rises ahead. You approach at steady pace. The climb begins. The wet stone is familiar underfoot. The peak arrives. The view extends. The descent follows. The far side returns you to level path. The canal resumes beside you. Buildings continue their presence. The route extends forward without interruption. More windows show darkness now. Interior lights have diminished further. The district settles deeper into night. Only scattered illumination remains. The canal reflects this decreased light. The water appears darker. The reflections show stronger contrast. Streetlights glow more vividly against the dark surface. Your footsteps continue their established pattern. Each step finds wet cobblestone. Each step produces familiar sound. The rhythm persists unchanged. The path ahead shows no variation from recent sections. Canal, buildings, rain, street lamps. These elements continue in established relationship. You pass a doorway showing light through glass panels. The interior remains private. Only warm glow reaches outward. The details stay hidden. The route continues forward steadily. The canal accompanies throughout. Water flows beside your path quietly. The surface shows constant, gentle movement. Another curve approaches. The canal bends left. You follow without adjustment. The path turns with the water. Everything moves together naturally. The curve completes. Another straight section begins. The pattern has become completely familiar. No surprise remains in the sequence. You walk through this straight section. Footsteps mark regular intervals. The pace hasn't varied. The progression continues smoothly. More reflections pattern the water. Each light source creates its double below. The doubles shift with small water movements. The effect is continuous. The buildings stand unchanging. Their facades remain constant throughout. The architecture persists in established form. Nothing alters the pattern. Rain continues falling everywhere. On stone, on water, on building surfaces. The coverage is complete. The presence is absolute. You notice how completely the rain fills the acoustic environment. It creates the foundation for all other sounds. Everything else occurs within this layer. Another bicycle leans against a railing. Its frame is wet and dark. Rain drips from handlebars slowly. You pass without stopping. The path extends forward. The canal flows beside you. The route continues as it has. The pattern persists without change. Your awareness rests lightly on surroundings. Nothing demands attention. Everything simply exists. The environment presents itself quietly. More distance accumulates. More time passes through movement. More path moves beneath your feet. The progression is constant and steady. The route curves right. The canal bends. You follow naturally. The transition is smooth. The curve completes without event. Another straight section unfolds. The canal extends forward. Reflections line both sides. The pattern continues as established. You pass more darkened windows. Most buildings show no interior light now. The facades appear as surfaces rather than occupied spaces. The rain maintains its steady fall. The sound never changes. The intensity remains constant. The effect is unchanging throughout. Your footsteps continue forward. Each step follows naturally. The rhythm is established completely. The pace persists without variation. Another bridge appears ahead. You approach slowly. The climb begins gently. The peak arrives. The descent follows. Level ground returns. The path continues beside the canal. Water flows alongside. Buildings frame your route. Rain falls steadily. Everything exists together. More curves will guide you forward. More straight sections will extend ahead. More bridges will rise and descend. The pattern will continue indefinitely. You walk into this continuation. The route stretches forward. The canal accompanies throughout. The rain surrounds everything. The night persists. Your footsteps maintain their rhythm. The sound is familiar and constant. Each step advances you forward. The progression flows naturally. The buildings stand close on your right. The canal flows on your left. The path extends between them. The relationship is fixed and clear. More reflections waver in the water. Lights double themselves below. The surface carries everything. The pattern shifts, but never ends. You continue walking forward. The motion is steady and unchanged. The pace is comfortable and natural. The route is clear ahead. Rain falls on your shoulders. The sensation is constant and light. The weight is negligible. The presence is complete. The night surrounds everything visible. Darkness fills spaces between lights. The contrast makes illumination more apparent. Each light source stands distinct. Another curve approaches. The canal bends. You follow without thought. The path turns naturally. The transition is smooth and familiar. Beyond the curve, another straight section begins. The pattern continues as it has. The sequence is established completely. The experience flows forward. You notice the water beside you. Its surface shows constant small movements. Rain creates endless ripples. The pattern never repeats exactly. Your path follows the canal's edge. The route is determined by water. Where the canal goes, you go. The guidance is simple. More windows remain dark. Fewer lights show now. The district has settled deeply into night. Only occasional illumination persists. The cobblestones glisten with water. Their wet surfaces catch light. The path shows texture and shine together. The effect is constant. Another intersection passes. You continue straight. The canal remains beside you. Side streets branch away. Your attention stays forward. The route curves gently. You follow naturally. The transition is smooth. The curve completes. Another straight section begins. Rain continues without change. Its presence fills everything completely. The sound is constant and steady. The sensation is pervasive. You notice your walking rhythm again. Each step matches the previous. The pace is established fully. The progression is smooth. More distance passes beneath your feet. More canal flows beside you. More buildings frame your path. More rain falls around you. The buildings maintain their character. Facades remain constant. Windows hold positions. Roof lines keep angles. Everything persists as it was. Water gathers in slight depressions. Small pools form and stay. They reflect fragments of light. The reflections are incomplete but present. You continue forward steadily. The motion persists unchanged. The path extends ahead. The canal accompanies throughout. Another bridge rises. You approach at steady pace. The climb begins. The peak arrives. The descent follows. Level path returns. The pattern continues without end. Straight sections and curves, bridges and level paths, buildings and water, light and darkness. Your footsteps provide constant rhythm. The sound is familiar completely. The pattern is established fully. Everything flows together naturally. The canal reflects the night. Buildings double in water. Lights repeat below. The surface carries everything continuously. You walk forward into more distance. The route stretches ahead endlessly. More path extends forward. More canal flows beside. More rain falls steadily. The experience continues flowing. The pattern persists unchanging. The rhythm maintains completely. Everything moves forward together. You move through it all steadily. The night surrounds you fully. The rain falls constantly. The path continues forward. The canal flows beside you. The buildings stand unchanged. The lights glow steadily. Everything exists together. The progression is endless. The movement is steady. The rain never stops falling. You continue walking forward. The route extends ahead. The pattern repeats continuously. The experience flows without end. Everything continues as established. The night persists around you. The rain surrounds completely. The path stretches forward. The canal accompanies throughout. You keep walking steadily. The rhythm never changes. The progression continues. Everything flows forward, together into the ongoing night.